is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
It is 5 o'clock here on your Tuesday. Good morning to you. I'm Lauren Casey.
Lauren, good morning. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Here are your headlines on this August the 11th. Schools set back. Avon schools officials decide that students will learn at home for several weeks due to COVID-19 concerns.
Mayor Joe Hogg said giving an update on the state of our city as an overview for his 2021 budget. We're breaking down everything you need to know this morning.
And some residents in Greenfield are voicing concerns over a new road proposal. Our Kelsey Anderson is taking a closer look into the concerns and what is next right here on Good Morning Indiana. And Lauren, as promised, I am loaded this morning with a whole lot of caffeine. We were up individually at our own homes, tracking those storms, helping our fellow meteorologists with videos, and our homes were shaking. But what a night. What happened?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know that you were also in Johnson County last night and it got pretty loud there right around the time we normally need to go to bed. So we were all up a little bit later last night, Todd, as you can tell. And so it is a quieter morning though as people are heading out on the roads for their Tuesday.
Yeah, no, it's tough to go to sleep when we have all that lightning and the wind is kind of shaking the house as it did in many locations. In fact, that entire line of storms yesterday had a severe thunderstorm warning. So almost every county in central Indiana at some point was under a thunderstorm warning. As you mentioned, Lauren, it's much more quiet this morning. That's the good news. As you get out the door here this morning, the skies are still mostly cloudy, but we're not dealing with any rainfall across the area. That is the good news. And as we expand out, you see all the storms are weakened a whole lot, but they're down in Kentucky and Tennessee here this morning. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s, depending on where you are, anywhere from 65 to 70 degrees on average. So it's a warm start to the day. It's a muggy start, and it's going to remain fairly muggy throughout the day today as we kind of toggle back and forth between partly to mostly cloudy skies. As far as storm chances go today, just a real small chance of a spot storm popping up later on this afternoon as high temperatures get up to right around 84 to 86 degrees across the area. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads right now. This is a live look up on the north side at I-465 and Meridian Street. You can see traffic here is pretty quiet this morning. No major issues to slow you down, but of course we'll keep our eyes on your roads throughout the morning and let you know if there are any crashes or delays. Here at 5:02, students in Avon will be learning from home due to some reported cases of COVID-19.
As we all know, Avon was among the first school districts to return to in-person learning. Alyssa Donovan joins us live this morning with more on this new plan for thousands of students. Alyssa, good morning.
Good morning, Rafael. And parents spoke out at a school board meeting last night, many of them voicing their concerns and opinions. And today there are some changes that are going to be implemented by the school board. Avon Community Schools held its regularly scheduled meeting one day before students at the high school will move to e-learning for the rest of the month. There are 5 confirmed cases of COVID-19 at Avon High School, 9 total across the district. Dozens of people attended last night's meeting, and many were critical of how the district has handled the start of the year.
Closing one school here and there is the logistics of those of us that are at home. How are we supposed to be able to plan our lives and our careers when we don't know from one week to the next if we need to plan for our kids to be at home or in school?
It needs to be what is best for our community. We need to be listening to our health officials, but we equally need to be listening to the parents and the neighbors and these students who are directly impacted by this. I ask you to stand up, to listen to what I am saying and to what all of my peers have been saying. We do not feel safe in the current situation.
Administrators say they've reviewed and finalized options for a hybrid approach at Avon High School, so there are fewer students in the building at one time. No officials declined to comment on just how many students and staff members had to quarantine as a result of this situation. Of course, we hope to get some of those details as this situation continues to be in as they continue to determine what they're going to do for the rest of the school year. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you so much. After 4 straight days of new coronavirus cases topping really more than 1,000 cases, the number has dropped just quite a bit. The state reported 673 new cases. That's 375 less than the number reported the previous day. Now, this could be due to the delayed reporting over the weekend. The overall number is closing in on 75,000 in Indiana. The overall positivity rate remains at 8.8%. 3 more Hoosiers have died from COVID-19 as reported by the state on Monday. Those deaths occurred between Friday and Monday, and that brings the statewide total now to 2,838 Hoosiers.
The time right now is 5:05. There are more than 5 million positive cases of COVID-19 confirmed in the U.S. since the start of the pandemic. That's according to Johns Hopkins University. One group that's seen a noticeable rise in U.S. infections is children. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Children's Hospital Association, there's been a significant spike in cases as many teens and kids are beginning to head back to school. John Lawrence joins us now with more.
Public health officials warned about opening schools in states with COVID-19 hotspots, but others want students back in class.
For the most part, they do very well. I mean, they don't get very sick. They don't catch it easily. They don't get very sick.
In terms of the risk to school kids, this is lower risk than seasonal influenza.
However, medical experts say having youth in crowded hallways and classrooms poses a significant threat.
You're waiting for a second fire to erupt. You're pouring fuel on a raging fire.
More than 800 students in Georgia's Cherokee County are in quarantine due to possible coronavirus exposure. This 1 week after in-person learning began.
We are not out of the woods yet, and we cannot take our foot off the gas. I'm asking that all Georgians continue to remain vigilant as we continue this fight.
Over the past 4 weeks, there's been a 90% hike in known COVID-19 cases among U.S. children, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Children's Hospital Association.
We think we're going to see an explosion of cases in September that will far surpass what we saw after Memorial Day, and that this is just going to continue to increase and getting higher and higher in terms of numbers.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
A new city budget does not defund police or raise taxes. The mayor of Indianapolis delivering a State of the City address focused on funding as well as facing racial injustice and systemic racism.
It's not enough to acknowledge systemic racism. You don't get a participation ribbon in the fight against injustice. What we need in Indianapolis is a process of healing that is not implemented, but lived, both in public and in private. Lived especially by white residents in positions of power, like myself.
When it comes to making those changes, the mayor cited an independent review panel appointed to assess the city's response to protests earlier this summer, as well as changes to IMPD's use of force policy and the department's addition of body cameras. When it comes to economic changes, the mayor announced an update to the city's policy to promote working with more minority-owned businesses with city contracts. Now, this address did kick off the 2021 budget season. That final budget not expected to be passed until sometime in October. Here's a closer look at that plan and at those numbers. The mayor's nearly $1.3 billion balanced budget proposal calls for $472 million in public safety spending, $276 million for criminal justice, and more than $158 million for roads, bridges, sidewalks, and trails. For more information on the budget, click on this story on our website, theindychannel.com. And later this morning, Mayor Hogsett and Public Health Director Virginia Kane and Dr. Kane will speak at 10:30 to give an update on Marion County's response to the pandemic. Look for live coverage on our website and a follow-up report on the news at noon.
Raphael, about every 10 years, cities make a thoroughfare plan. It's a transportation plan that engineers write up so they can plan to support the community's future needs as it grows. But out in Hancock County, some residents have a big concern when it comes to what the city has proposed. Our Kelsey Anderson joins us live from Greenfield this morning with those details. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, Lauren, good morning. So you can't tell right now because it is so dark, but we're in the middle of a neighborhood, and residents in this neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods are concerned about the thoroughfare plan because one of the items on there is a road cutting right through their neighborhood. You can see it would start here at this tape mark and go all the way over there, about 65 feet to that tape mark on that side, leaving a road just feet from someone's front door.
Greenfield's thoroughfare plan has more than 160 items on it. The McLaren Road extension is number 84. City engineer Jason Cook says there are no immediate plans for the extension to happen. They just want to make sure it's on the plan because if the city continues to grow, they think it's a viable option to help with traffic. But for Sandy Miller and her neighbors, they don't want to see the extension in the works or even as an idea on paper.
Well, it doesn't really matter whether it happens in the next 10 years, the next 50 years, or it never happens to us. We've spoken to a number of realtors, and they've advised us that once it's in the plan, we have to disclose it in a real estate transaction. So anyone here who wants to sell their home will have to tell the potential buyer, oh, by the way, there's a chance that a 65-foot thoroughfare will run through here, and for this home, you can just walk out and touch the semis.
The residents here are also concerned about losing large portions of their yards, the safety of their children, and the wildlife that lives here along Brandywine Creek.
Now, Cook does tell me that this is not even planned for in the next 10 to 20 years probably, and they haven't even done studies on it, but he does say that it needs to be in the plan because he thinks it's a viable option. The city council is expected to vote on this next month. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, RTV 6.
All right, thank you there, Kelsey. The time now is 5:10 as you walk out the door this morning. It's a lot more quiet this morning than it was yesterday. Yesterday morning, we had those 2 rounds of storms, one round in the morning, and then the stronger storms in the evening hours, and we sandwiched a lot of sunshine in between. This morning, as you get going, it's still muggy out there with temperatures that are in the 60s and skies that'll be mostly cloudy as you rise and shine and grab maybe that extra cup of coffee to get yourself going here on this Tuesday morning. But the satellite radar picture is pretty quiet. We're looking at mostly cloudy skies. Clouds trying to break apart there off to the east. Not going to be too successful, but back off to our west, we don't see much in the way of storm action. Instead of a line of storms today, I do think we could manufacture an isolated thunderstorm during the peak heating of the day as temperatures climb anywhere from about 82 to 88 degrees across the area. Lauren?
Todd, thank you so much. Change of plans. The man accused of killing a Metro police officer in the line of duty isn't facing a jury next week. The details are next.
And we'll have details on a controversial jail release. A mother speaking out against a man accused of killing her son during the May protests in Indianapolis. It's 5:12. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The trial for a man charged in the murder of Indianapolis police officer Brian Leith will not begin next week as originally scheduled. Officer Leith was shot to death April 9th at the Edinburgh Square apartments while responding to a domestic disturbance call. Another woman was also shot but survived. 27-year-old Elias Dorsey faces murder and a number of additional charges. His trial has been pushed back until at least next January.
The mother of an 18-year-old shot and killed during the downtown protest in Indianapolis is now speaking out after her son's accused killer bonded out of jail. The man accused, Tyler Newby, claims that he shot Dorian Morrell in self-defense. Newby is out of jail this morning after posting a $25,000 bond. But Morrell's mother says this should not have been allowed to happen.
From my knowledge, most murder cases don't get, they can go to the court for bond hearings, but they normally don't get approved for them. I want justice to be served, and I want it to be done the right way. I don't want violence. I don't want to seek revenge. I just want justice.
We did reach out to the Marion County Prosecutor's Office about this case because we want to know how this bond decision was made. We have not heard back from the office, and we will continue to stay on top of this developing story.
The damage caused by last week's deadly explosion in Lebanon can be seen from space. NASA, with the help of scientists in Singapore, used satellite data to map out the damage in Beirut. The red pixels show the most severe devastation, which is centered around the city's port. The orange pixels show moderate damage, while the yellow ones show the areas that are affected less severely. Each pixel represents an area of about 33 yards or 99 feet. The blast happened at a warehouse where more than 2,700 tons of a highly explosive fertilizer were stored. At least 160 people were killed and more than 6,000 injured.
So last night we got quite the light show with all that lightning in central Indiana, but get ready for another all-natural light show this evening, the Perseid meteor shower. It's considered the Northern Hemisphere's most popular meteor shower of the year. Now this year, it's been active since July, but it's set to peak tonight into Wednesday morning. If you can't get out to have a look, then you'll may be able to catch a glimpse of the Perseid meteors the following 2 nights. The Perseid meteors are caused by dust and debris left behind from the tail of the comet Swift-Tuttle. And Todd Clausen, the big question for all of us tonight is, will we be able to see those Perseid meteors considering the clouds that we saw last night?
Yeah, you know, I wish I could say it was going to be crystal clear this evening for everybody across central Indiana, Raphael. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. With that said, there may be a few spots where the clouds break apart later on this evening. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. But again, it's not going to be a guarantee of crystal clear skies this evening. This morning, we're starting off with clouds. Here's a live look from downtown off to the west. The clouds, though, not producing any rainfall this morning. That is the good news. It's a dry start to our day. Temperature is 68 degrees at the airport here in Indy. Notice that humidity, though, way up there at 96%. The dew point's at 67. So whenever the actual temperature and the dew point temperature are very close to each other, that means the air is almost completely saturated, and that's why we have the mugginess out there here on this Tuesday morning. 69 in Bloomington, 68 the current temperature in Greencastle, Lafayette, and 65 as you make your way over into the Richmond area. I mentioned those dew points. You notice it actually goes up a couple degrees throughout the day today, so we'll be hovering right around that 70-degree mark for the dew points, so that's a pretty uncomfortable number for us. And so it's going to be warm, it's going to be muggy today, and with the heat, with the humidity, I do think we'll have the opportunity at least to flare up a few isolated thunderstorms across parts of the area. Satellite radar picture shows a few breaks in the clouds this morning. They're off towards the east, but those clouds should fill in. And I do think we start off mostly cloudy, but we'll thin the clouds out at times later on this afternoon. But as you look over here into central Missouri, you notice a few isolated storms. I think that potential will be possible here as we work our way into the afternoon hours and get into the peak heating of the day. Now, the TrueCast and the computer model not really picking up on that. But I do think with the humidity and the heat that will be around today, we will manufacture a few isolated thunderstorms, non-severe, across the area. So just know that they're going to be a possibility, but they are not going to be very widespread. Outside of the storm chance, partly sunny skies, high temperatures today climbing up into the mid-80s for your afternoon high, but it'll feel a little warmer than that when you factor in the humidity. Tomorrow, not much changes. Starting in the mid-60s, partly sunny skies, the chance of some isolated storms in the afternoon hours with high temperatures in the mid-80s. We stay right around 85 degrees for a high temperature through Friday. We'll go up a couple degrees for Saturday and Sunday, and then a little bit cooler on Monday with a high temperature of 81 degrees. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads this morning. Let's take a look down here in Johnson County. This is I-65 at the Main Street exit in Greenwood, where everything is traveling up to speed, both northbound and southbound. No crashes, no delays around central Indiana at this hour to slow down your Tuesday commute. Raphael?
Coronavirus testing could be mandatory when Royal Caribbean Cruises resumes its sailing. USA Today reporting that the company's CEO, Michael Bailey, says that testing will likely be required before future cruises. Royal Caribbean is also looking into other possible safety measures. They include using ultraviolet light to kill the coronavirus and modifying ships to promote social distancing. Royal Caribbean cruises have been on hold since March because of the outbreak, but the company is hoping its U.S. ships will be back at sea sometime in November if they get the green light from the CDC.
Kodak stock took a big hit on Monday. The company's shares plunged about 40% after a $765 million federal loan was put on hold. Regulators reportedly looking into the allegations of insider trading. The DFC's announcement comes a few days after questions arose about heavy trading volume for the company's stock. Kodak executives are also under criticism about receiving stock options on July 27th, a day before the loan announcement. The loan was meant to launch Kodak Pharmaceuticals, which will make a generic alternative pharmaceutical ingredients to reduce America's dependency on foreign drug makers.
So, Lauren, get out your skateboard because fans of the legendary pro skater Tony Hawk can now try his signature burrito from Chipotle and maybe even get one for free. Let's see what happens. The Tony Hawk burrito is made with chicken and brown rice, black beans, tomatillo, red chili salsa, and guacamole. You can order it on the Chipotle app or on the Chipotle.com now through August the 14th. The first 2,000 customers will get access to Hawk's video game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and the 2 warehouse demo. What more could you want? Tony will also give out 5,000 free burritos during a live stream on Chipotle's online Twitch TV channel on August the 14th.
Well, Mike Tyson is getting back in the ring, but not the one you may imagine. Up next, see the boxing champ take on an unusual opponent while conquering his fears. It's 5:23. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So, Raphael, what does it take to scare Mike Tyson? Get him in an underwater ring with the sharks.
So the boxer, he appeared on Discovery Channel's Shark Week, squaring off against a variety of sharks in a 3-round setup. Let me take you to this Sunday event, each round with a different setup. It started in a cage with a lemon shark, and by round 3, with the help of an expert, he put one to sleep with his bare hands.
How you feeling, Mike? I'm scared to death. Still safe. Still collapsed and perfectly calm. Okay. Look, she's coming behind you. You got it.
Tyson said before the match that he got sick, but in the end, he says he was glad he was able to conquer his fears. What an adventure for him under the water. Todd Clausen, we saw a lot of water yesterday. What is the forecast today on this Tuesday?
You know, there could be a few isolated storms here and there, Raphael, across the area as we get into the afternoon hours. But overall, today is going to be a much drier day for us. Not necessarily brighter. I think yesterday we got into all that sunshine in the afternoon hours. I think today we probably don't see as much in the way of sun, especially this morning. It's mostly cloudy. But even with the clouds, temperatures should warm pretty quickly this morning up to about 80 degrees by the time we get to the noon hour. High temperatures today with those isolated storms popping up in the afternoon, anywhere from about 84 degrees in Peru to as warm as 87 to 88 degrees to Bloomington and Columbus. 85, a very seasonable high temperature here in Indianapolis.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
We do not feel safe in the current situation.
Now at 5:30, parents speaking out as Avon Community Schools deals with multiple cases of COVID-19, what they want to see change, and the district's new plan to start e-learning today.
And residents in Greenfield concerned about a new road expansion set to go right through their neighborhood. Our Kelsey Anderson spoke with neighbors about those concerns and what is next for this project.
We want to welcome you into Good Morning Indiana. Thanks for waking up with our team here on RTV6. I'm Lauren Casey. Raphael, good morning to you down in Johnson County. We're tired this morning because we were up late with those storms.
And I'm not kidding, Lauren. My official Good Morning Indiana cup is loaded with caffeine because of that. But Todd Clausen, you are promising today to be much calmer, much drier, though. What, cloudier maybe?
Yeah, probably a little more in the way of cloud cover today. Yesterday in between the storms, we sandwiched a lot of sunshine. Today it's going to be more in the way of filtered sunshine as the clouds, I think, will ultimately kind of win out. With that said, I think there'll be periods of some sunshine. So I did tell you to grab the sunglasses here before you get going this morning because I do think you're going to need them at times. I did not check the umbrella, even though there are a few isolated storms in the forecast later on this afternoon. And obviously you don't need the jacket. That was still on the map from last week when we had some of those cooler temperatures in the morning hours. It's warm, it's muggy this morning with skies that are mostly cloudy, but we're dry. That is the good news. 68 in Indy and Bedford right now, 70 in Muncie. Pair of 6s from Tipton up towards Peru. So throughout the day today, partly to mostly cloudy skies, near 80 degrees by the noon hour. High temperatures very seasonable, around 84 to 85 degrees. And just be on the lookout again later on this afternoon for just an isolated storm to pop up across parts of the area. Lauren.
Todd, thank you. Let's take a look right now at traffic as you're heading out on the roads to kick off your Tuesday. This is I-65, a view near St. Clair Street in the downtown area. This is between the north and south splits, and you can see traffic is moving along up to speed in both directions there. No crashes or issues to slow you down at this early hour. Raphael.
Lauren, the roads to reopening schools this summer has been bumpy for schools across central Indiana. And now Avon Community Schools are doing an about-face on how kids will learn for the next several weeks.
And so Avon students will switch to remote learning at the high school due to concerns with COVID-19 cases. Our Alyssa Donovan is joining us live this morning with the details. Alyssa, good morning.
Good morning, Lauren. And that change starts today. They were in class yesterday for in-person learning, but now all students across Avon Community School District will be doing e-learning for the rest of the week before switching to a hybrid schedule expected to start next week. Now, there was a regularly scheduled school board meeting last night, and parents and community members spoke out at this. There are 9 confirmed cases of COVID-19 across the district, and like many districts, Avon had a very strategic health and safety plan in place for students to return to in-person learning, including a complete schedule change for students. Many of the parents who spoke at last night's meeting were critical of how the district approached the start of the school year.
This rush to get kids in the door has shown us that the rush was not worth it. The plan, the logistics, it wasn't ready.
Administrators are working to finalize a hybrid option for students to do partial in-person learning. This is expected to start next week, and of course we'll keep you updated on that. That plan expected to start next week, and right now the plan is for students to return to full in-person learning at the start of September. That first week of September, of course, we'll keep you updated on that. Reporting live, Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett announcing more plans for COVID-19 relief in his State of the City address last night. The City County Council approved a new $16 million emergency relief package to help those hit especially hard by the pandemic. Some of that money will help extend the city's rental assistance program, purchase face coverings for residents, and continue to operate downtown hand washing stations and portable toilets used by the homeless. Mayor Joe Hogsett says that the city remains prepared as they look at next year's budget.
I'll begin by stating the obvious. COVID-19 has had a crippling impact on the lives of Indianapolis residents. It will no doubt bring fiscal challenges to our desks in the coming years. But we can take some comfort in knowing that Indianapolis and this council has spent the past 4 years putting our fiscal house in order. We are better prepared than the city has been in a generation.
At 10:30 this morning, the mayor and public health director, Dr. Virginia Kane, will provide more updates on Marion County's response to the pandemic. We'll have live coverage on our website, and you can see the latest on the news at noon.
So, Lauren, our state is seeing a slight decrease in the daily reported cases of COVID-19. Here's a closer look at those numbers. The state health department reported 673 new cases statewide on Monday. That brings the total to nearly 75,000. 3 new deaths were also reported. 2,838 Hoosiers have died since the pandemic began. More than 852,000 people have been tested for the virus so far. The positivity rate remains at 8.8%.
Raphael, despite some numbers going down across the country, there's an alarming trend of rising cases in children as the debate on whether to reopen schools rages on. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
In parts of Florida Monday, thousands of students returned to the classroom, masks encouraged but not required. This as the American Academy of Pediatrics reveals COVID-19 cases in kids jumped by nearly 180,000 in less than a month.
Those numbers are a reminder that kids are not immune from this disease. They do get infected.
Meantime, in Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, and Houston, students will begin the school year online.
Economy is recoverable. Education is recoverable. A lot of things you can recover from. What you can't recover from is death.
New York City trying its own hybrid method with more than 700,000 students preparing for a combination of in-person and remote learning for now.
We are going to be looking like hawks at the numbers. And if the numbers of the positivity rate starts inching upwards, and if it gets to 3%, we will remote learn for the entire system.
The president has been pushing for in-person learning, insisting children are less susceptible to COVID-19.
They don't catch it easily. They don't get very sick. And according to the people that I've spoken to, they don't transport it or transfer it to other people.
Dr. Anthony Fauci also says reopening schools is a priority, but only if done safely.
There should be universal wearing of masks. There should be, to the extent possible, social distancing, avoiding crowds. Outdoors always better than indoors.
Schools are not the only thing up in the air. The future of sports is also uncertain, including college football. Officials are expected to make a decision today on whether to postpone or cancel the Big Ten fall season. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Good morning to Greenwood, Galveston, and Greenfield. And so let's stay in Hancock County this morning, where there's a major opposition to a road project there. Some people are really upset over this road project that is being proposed. Our Kelsey Anderson joins us live this morning from Greenfield with the details. Kelsey, good morning. And what are people saying about this project?
Hey, good morning. So it's on the thoroughfare plan, which means there's about 160 items on there. This is number 84, so not something that's going to happen immediately, but residents in this neighborhood that we're in right now, they want to see it off completely because look at this. This tape right here, and we'll walk this way, Eldon, all the way over to this side, about 65 feet. That's how big of a road that will go right through the middle of this neighborhood, putting a highway right next to someone's door.
One of the reasons we love living here is we can sit on our back decks. We can see Brandywine Creek flow through our backyards.
Sandy Miller has lived in the Walnut Ridge neighborhood for 27 years. Now her and her neighbors are concerned about a proposed road extension on the city's 2020 thoroughfare plan. The 84th item on the plan is calling for the potential of extending McLaren Drive, which would mean a thoroughfare running through their neighborhood and then over Brandywine Creek.
This house, and one of the houses in the front is completely cut off from our neighborhood. So they get cut off from the neighborhood, and the beautiful neighborhood that we've built over the last 30 years is, we think, essentially destroyed.
But this isn't the first time these neighbors have fought this fight. This road extension was on the last thoroughfare plan.
Yes, the last time was 12 years ago in 2008, and many of us here were part of that. We met with the Planning Commission, we met with the City Council, and after due consideration for all of the same issues that we're going to talk about today, they took it out of the plan. Honestly, we thought it was out of the plan forever, so we were quite surprised last month to learn that we were going to fight this fight again.
We still think it's a viable project. We think it's needed, so we've put it back on.
Jason Couch is the city engineer for Greenfield. He tells me there are more than 160 items on the plan and no immediate plans for this extension.
There's no funding for this at this point. There's no studies that have been done for the environmental impacts. Really, it's just a line on a paper right now.
But Miller says they think there are other better options, and they want to see this extension off the plan for good.
For whatever little benefit the city might get from that, the cost is simply too high, not just in terms of money, but in terms of safety, in terms of our neighborhood, in terms of drainage and flooding.
So now Couch says that they only have really the budget in the next 10 years for hopefully the first 20 items on that list. So he says this 84th item is definitely not going to happen in the next 10 years. But residents here say they want to see this off the plan for good. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, RTV 6.
Kelsey, thank you. Our Hiring Hoosiers initiative is bringing you news of 1,000 jobs that need to be filled in Johnson County. FedEx Ground is hiring 1,000 package handlers to staff a new automated station opening in Greenwood this fall. The state-of-the-art 800,000 square foot sorting facility is anticipated to meet the needs of the holiday season. You have to be 18 or older in order to apply. You can find more information about the openings right now in this story. Just go to hiringhoosiers.com. Here at 5:42, let's toss things over to Todd at home for a look at our Tuesday forecast. Hey, Todd.
And Lauren, it's not a bad forecast for us here throughout the day today. We won't have as much in the way of sunshine as we had yesterday, but we also won't have as much in the way of storm activity across the area. In fact, there's only the chance of a sprinkle or two this morning, and then as we get into the afternoon hours, only about a 20 to 30% chance of an isolated storm that will flare up across parts of the area. It won't be a line of storms coming through. We'll just kind of manufacture the chance of a storm through the daytime heating. You know, there's one little shower flaring up there this morning down towards the Seymour area. And I do think southern locations today will have the best bet of seeing one of these isolated storms develop during the peak heating of the day. So it's not a bad pool day. 78 degrees by the noon hour on our way up to a high of 84 degrees with just a chance again of those storms in the afternoon. Obviously, if you hear the thunder or you see any lightning and you're at the pool, make sure you seek shelter. We'll talk more about your extended forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Todd, thank you. New details this morning on President Trump's executive order to help renters and homeowners with evictions during this pandemic. Coming up, why the move doesn't guarantee an eviction moratorium.
And Lauren, like many college sports, many youth teams are now canceling their seasons. What experts say can help you talk to your kids about what they won't be playing this year. That story and much more coming up right here on Good Morning, Indiana. Welcome back to Good Morning, Indiana. And this morning we're learning more about President Trump's executive order allegedly protecting people from evictions.
In Raphael, the executive action does not explicitly provide funds to help homeowners or renters. It says the Department of Health and Human Services and the CDC should consider whether halting evictions could slow the spread of COVID-19. Indiana's statewide moratorium on evictions expires on Friday. As we told you last week, that does not mean that your landlord can legally threaten to kick you out immediately. You can find more information on rental assistance resources right now by going to theindychannel.com.
In more of our Democracy 2020 coverage today, Connecticut voters will head to the polls for the last primaries of the 2020 cycle. While the presidential candidates are all but locked in, many local and state races are still up for grabs there in Connecticut. Connecticut moved its primary twice because of the coronavirus. First from April the 28th to June the 2nd, and then, of course, from June the 2nd to today. Those big political conventions, they start next week.
Well, TikTok could sue the Trump administration as early as this morning. The lawsuit is expected to argue that President Trump does not have the power to ban the app in the U.S. through executive order. Trump signed an executive order last week that would effectively ban TikTok for national security reasons after 45 days unless it's sold to a new owner. Under the order, anyone who violates the order could be fined up to $300,000 or given jail time or both.
This morning, thousands are still without power in Indiana after a severe storm really just ripped across the Midwest. The storm, known as derecho, started in Iowa, where strong winds, they damaged buildings, they flattened cornfields and downed power lines. Winds of more than 70 miles per hour continued into Chicago as well. That storm toppled a church steeple and really sparked some multiple fires in that city. Kokomo, Lafayette, and Terre Haute are the areas still dealing with the most power outages in central Indiana. And Todd Clausen, the storm is known as derecho. Derecho in Spanish means right. Nothing right about the damage or the outages caused by those storms last night.
Yeah, and Derecho, that is a long-lived thunderstorm. So it started in Iowa and just made its way all the way through Illinois here into Indiana with those really strong winds. And a lot of times when you deal with derechos, it's mainly the wind that is the big issue, although there were a couple tornado warnings in northern Indiana yesterday evening. And almost every county in Indiana was under some sort of warning at some point throughout the day yesterday as those storms moved through. Now, going forward in this forecast, as you see, rain chances are in the forecast today all the way through Friday. Yesterday, the rain chances were high. The next couple days, rain chances are just in that slight category, and they're primarily going to be just some isolated storms that are going to be flaring up throughout the course of the afternoon and into the evening hours. Temperatures this morning are in the 60s and 70s, so everybody's within 5 degrees of each other. 65 is the coolest spot in Richmond. Muncie's at 70, 68 in Indianapolis. And it's very, very muggy outside this morning as well. Here's a live look off to the west, and you see some low clouds there kind of streaming across the skyline. Overall, skies are mostly cloudy right now all across the area. And as far as any rain goes, there's one little shower here that's popped up in the last 20 minutes or so down just between Columbus and Seymour. It's drifting south towards north of Vernon, and that is just about it as far as the rainfall goes. And yesterday we had those storms off to our west that we could see were going to be coming our way throughout the evening hours. Not like yesterday, though, in the forecast here today. With nothing off to our west, we'll just have to manufacture an isolated downpour or two. And the computer model here on TrueCast not really picking up on it all that much. But as we go forward in this forecast, I do think with the humidity and the heat that's around, there will be the chance of that isolated storm. Temperatures today, very seasonable. Our high temperature on average is about 84 degrees, and that's right where we should be for your high temperature later on this afternoon. Now, going forward in this forecast, tomorrow, 85, partly sunny skies, the chance of a spot storm. As we go into Thursday, not much changes. Warm and muggy, 85, mostly cloudy skies. And Friday, we're looking at a temperature of 85 degrees as well, which is average for this time of year. We'll go up a couple degrees for your Saturday and Sunday with some spot storm chances. And then Sunday night into Monday, we'll have maybe a better round of thunderstorms coming through as a cold front arrives. And that'll drop the high temperature by the time we get to Monday down below average at 81 degrees.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at your roads as you're heading out the door on this Tuesday. This is I-70 at Ronald Reagan Parkway, where you can see some orange barrels out there on the roads. But overall traffic moving eastbound and westbound is traveling up to speed there to our west. Right now, no crashes to report around the metro area. That's great news if you're heading out to work early this morning. Of course, we'll continue to keep our eyes on your roads and let you know if there are any crashes or delays. Raphael?
So, Lauren, as you know, this pandemic is forcing some youth sports to be canceled. And in many cases, it's parents who are just not allowing their kids to play in those games. So what do you do with the extra time? What do you do with your kids? Experts say factor in age as you talk with your kids about not playing their favorite sports. Kids around 6 may play because they just like doing something fun. Now, older kids around 12 might use sports as a way to connect with others and develop a sense of who they are. Child development experts say using these perspectives can help them understand why sports may not happen this year.
If the narrative is we need to keep our family safe, grandpa lives with us and we have to be especially careful because of him. I think that's not always easy for kids to hear, but I think that is something that resonates with them.
So it's also good to come up with some options to youth sports. So if a child plays because of the exercise and the physical activity, then it may be great to find another sport that's an individual sport to play. If they play because they're competitive, experts say you may want to consider video games to fill the void, but of course use those games in moderation.
Well, for this New Zealand man dressing up like a wizard, it's a daily duty. Just after the break, what it means to be an official wizard and even be on the town's payroll. It's 5:54. That story and more coming up after the break. Welcome back. For one man in New Zealand, wearing a wizard outfit isn't a costume, Raphael, it's his uniform.
So please meet Ian Brackenbury Channel. He wears it to work as the official wizard of Christchurch, New Zealand. The channel moved to New Zealand in the 70s from the UK and became well known for being a wizard. And in 1998, the town started paying him for being a wizard. The city council pays him the equivalent of about $10,000 a year. Now time to check your forecast to see if there's anything magical about today's forecast, Todd Clausen.
It's pretty straightforward here for the day today, Raphael. That is the good news. We need a little bit of a break after the active weather day yesterday with the storms in the morning and then again in the evening hours. A live look outside, and the sky should start to brighten here shortly. And unfortunately, quite a bit of cloud cover around this morning, with temperatures that are going to be hovering in the upper 60s to right around 70 degrees. So we don't really warm a whole lot initially this morning, but then the temperatures, as the clouds thin a little bit, should take off pretty quickly, near 80 by the noon hour, with high temperatures today that'll be topping off anywhere from about 84 degrees in Peru to 88 in Columbus. 85 the high temperature expected in Indy, with just an isolated storm chance later on this afternoon. Join us at the top of the hour, 6 o'clock, as Good Morning Indiana continues. We'll see you in just a couple minutes.